and there's literally a fire that's happening out in the field at our church. I'm like, oh my gosh.
In the middle of summer?
In the middle of the summer.
With all the dry grass.
Yes.
And they were not happy at all.
Welcome, everyone, to the XPerience podcast. I'm your host once again, Pastor Gabe. Before we get started, make sure you like, subscribe, and share the content. We have plenty of videos, plenty of content on YouTube. We're getting closer to 150 subscribers, and as we reach there, we will be doing our first giveaway for a legendary Swell sweatshirt. Also be doing a giveaway at 200 subscribers and 250 subscribers. But continue to just subscribe, like, share the movement that is happening here of the everyday person. With me today, I have our very own, well, not our very own, but he came all the way out here from Rockland, California. Whoa. You're from Rockland, bro, now.
I am from Sacramento
You're officially from Rockland now. But everybody give it up for the youth pastor at Destino Church, Diego Herrera Fonseca.
Woo-hoo.
How you doing, my guy?
Good. Doing great, man. Excited to be here, and I'm excited to support this podcast that you're doing. It was really cool to hear when you started up this podcast, and I know it's not easy. There comes challenge with everything new that you start, and so I'm here to support, and happy to be here.
Yeah, I stated last week on the last episode that we wanted this a podcast to be about the community, to be about the everyday person. And obviously, you're an everyday person yourself, and not only that, but you're bearing the cross every day, serving in youth ministry, one of the toughest ministries to serve in because we're dealing with teenagers.
Right.
We're dealing with kids that are trying to figure out who they are while at the same time they're going through physical, emotional battles when they go through puberty and all of that stuff. So let's just give us a little bit of details of who you are, where you're at in life right now, and what has God been doing over the past, about 10 years of you doing ministry.
Yeah. So currently I'm a youth leader at Destino, Iglesia Destino out in Rockland, and I lead a group of students from middle school and high school. I currently work a full-time job.
Okay.
And it's basically life right now is work, church, and girlfriend.
Oh, shout out to the girlfriend.
So
shout out to my wife.
So it's just pretty busy, staying busy, staying consistent, and allowing God to guide and move in my life. And right now, I think I'm in a season where I'm seeking God's direction for the next season, for the next chapter, what's to come. And so, here I am. I've been doing youth ministry for a while now. I have the privilege and honor to serve Iglesia Destino. It's an amazing church. It's an incredible church, a very dynamic church. It's a bilingual church, so we get a lot of most of our demographic at our church is young adults or young families. Mm-hmm. So it's really cool to see that dynamic where there's a lot of couples that are bilingual. They may be from another race, and they're married to a Hispanic Latino person, and they choose to come to our Spanish service or bilingual service. Mm-hmm. And it's really cool to see families grow up in that. I think that's a model that a lot of churches nowadays are following, with especially here in the U.S., where there is something for everyone, especially for the Hispanic community, where a lot of times, families are bilingual.
Yeah.
And so we're able to serve our community that way.
Yeah, for sure. I think if you're in California, it's almost like a guarantee you have to have that kind of dynamic. Especially, like I said, there's so much interracial relationships, interracial marriage that's happening in our society. I
Yeah.
mean, to the point to where you're not going to be able to tell who's who or what's what. Like at that point, you're just it's gonna be like, "What are you?" Like, well, I'm 10% this, 8% this. Like we're gonna pick that apart. But yeah, I think especially in California because there's such a large Hispanic community, especially a lot of people that are either first generation or just coming to the country from wherever they're at, whether if it's somewhere in South America, Mexico. Out in the Caribbean. So it's a matter of that concept, but typically they come to California. The church and New Season is the same thing as well. We have English, Spanish, bilingual congregation, kind of do everything together. But specifically like that young adult youth, it's like that gray line a little bit because now you have a generation of people that sometimes maybe prefer English over Spanish, and then you have some that prefer Spanish over English, and so you have to find that balance there. But for you, as far as your journey doing ministry, because you're your youth pastor over there now, how did your journey start? Did you go to a youth ministry when you had first really got into it, or was it just something that you just walked into?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I never saw myself as a youth leader. I started in youth ministry when I was a teenager in high school. I started attending youth ministry, and it was more out of curiosity. I was attending church, but not really into church or about church. Not really about God, and so I was struggling a lot with that, going to church, but not really knowing God for myself, not really practicing my faith. And until we started having youth services in the church, and I was invited to come in and be a part of it. And I would go every now and then, but I remember, the moment that I really laid down my life for the Lord was at a summer camp. Prior to that, I had I believe it was an encounter with the Lord at a youth worship night in my old church. It really impacted my life, and that's the first time I really felt the Holy Spirit and God move in my life. But after that, it kind of just died down a little bit. But it was at a summer camp where really God. I felt God speak to me. There was a lot I was struggling with, anger issues, self-esteem issues, and just I had a lot of baggage I was carrying. In that moment, I remember just crying out to God and saying, "Hey, God, like I've grown up in church. I've seen the miracles, and seen you move so much and move so much in my family. But I want to, if you're real, I want to know you for myself. I want to see you move in my life." And it was the moment I opened up my heart to God, and I felt God, and I heard God speaking to me to just, let go of my pride, of my anger, of those things that were holding me back, and just it was in that moment I decided to give my life to the Lord, and then I started going to church, or I started going to youth ministry and serving in youth ministry, and it was really cool. At first, I was just serving in youth ministry as a sound tech. I was just putting up the we literally had to set everything up, from the sound, the speakers, the soundboard, I remember we had to put up the projector to show up the lyrics and slides and all kinds of stuff. So I was the guy to set all that up, and that's how I started. I never saw myself necessarily leading a youth ministry, because I also grew up with like a stuttering issue, I think, and
Yeah.
public speaking was never my thing. I never thought I'd be speaking in public, standing in front of people or a crowd, or let alone students, teenagers. It was just never in my mind. But eventually, down the road, the Lord put me in a place of leading our group, and it wasn't something that I was really looking for, but God placed me there, and I was just obedient to His calling, and I started speaking, talking to the youth. I think one of the things that really prepared me for that was simply start talking to other people about God, like one-on-one. Just start talking to. I remember I was in a junior or senior in high school, and I would start talking to other peers, and we would, the conversation about faith would come up, and we would just start talking about God, about faith, just about life in general, and I would become very passionate about God, and telling people, friends and other people my age, that how great, how amazing, how good God is, and what God can do in their lives, because God had done it in my life, and so yeah, that's kind of how I started practicing my faith. I started moving in my walk with God, and eventually I feel like that prepared me to eventually start talking to youth in the front.
Yeah.
We didn't really have a stage. We just had a
Yeah.
it was just in front of everybody, and then from there we kind of started growing, and now I serve a youth group, and it's incredible.
That's great, man. That's great. Yeah, it's like sometimes you won't get blessed with that opportunity to speak in the masses if you're not intentional about who you're speaking with the people that are close to you. It becomes very much more difficult to try to go out and preach to the masses of strangers if you're not even comfortable with your quote unquote circle and talking to them about Jesus.
Right.
So yeah, I mean that's always the first start, is talking with the people that, when in doubt, they may disagree with you, they may agree with you, but in the end of the day, you guys are still buds,
Right.
But giving them opportunity to be able to do that. But not only that, you're working on your craft, public speaking. It's not an easy thing at times, especially when you have a stutter. I could testify to that. I had to take special ed classes for that reason. Mm-hmm. So, speaking was never my thing as well. I never thought I would be a public speaker. I dreaded it in high school. And not only that, I'm a very fast talker. So when you're not a very good speaker and you're a very fast talker, it's just, it doesn't make it any better than that.
The greatest combo.
It's not the best recipe.
You know what the funny thing is? In high school, I was very self-conscious for some reason. I guess it's just part of growing up, being a teenager and wanting to fit in. I feel like I always struggle with that, like, not feeling like I fit in wherever I was. And so, but anyway, I remember my senior year, I was in AVID, which is a college prep program. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the year, the AVID program, they do their own graduation ceremony with all the schools within our district. And one of our assignments in our class was to write basically write like a graduation, basically write a graduation speech. Yeah. So we had to write a graduation speech, and I thought, well, why do we have to do this? Like, the person with the best grades or the best work should be picked just to write the speech. But the whole point was for everybody to write the speech, and then we would vote on the best speech, and that person was going to get
What is an avid speech like? Is it any different from a standard high school commencement?
It's literally mostly the same thing. You just talk about how the program has helped you throughout your high school years, and how you've been able to overcome, certain obstacles that, have finally gotten you to where you're at, being able to graduate high school and going into higher education, community college or a 4-year university.
Okay.
At that time, I was not going into a 4-year college. I was going into a community college.
Yep.
So I didn't feel like really qualified for a speech.
Nothing wrong with that. All right, nothing wrong with that. I want to let you guys know that.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely
it's
not.
Honestly a better financial decision.
Oh,
I see it as a financial decision nowadays.
I mean, it's it's all it's all individual.
Oh yeah.
It's an individual decision, but I think in my case, I was supposed to write a speech, and we were going to present it in front of the class, and then the class was going to vote whose speech was the best, and then that person was going to pick to represent our school at the Avid graduation. So long story short, I wrote my speech. I don't even remember what I wrote about, but honestly, I said my speech, and ultimately I got voted best speech out of the whole class. Dang. Which was mind-blowing. I was like, there's no way. And so I was chosen to present my speech in front of the whole, it was like maybe 1,000 people.
Oh wow.
But it was incredible. It was I basically I presented my speech at the Avid graduation, and it was all the schools that within our school district that were part of that program. And I just remember talking about overcoming certain obstacles and how I was able to eventually graduate from high school, and how Avid had helped me through that process. And so I share that with you because I think for me that was one of those moments where I never thought I would be there, and I did make an effort to write a good speech, and obviously when I presented, I practiced beforehand, and I tried my best, and I think it went really well. But I just say that to say this, that sometimes we don't know the plans of God in our life. We don't know what God wants to do in our life, or where God wants to take us. And so sometimes God's just that amazing, that miraculous, that he just takes you through a journey, and you just gotta go be obedient to his word. And so that was, I think, a moment where God showed me his calling upon my life, his hand over my life, and I said a speech in front of thousands of people. I was just looking over everybody's head so I wouldn't be nervous, because I remember I was so nervous to go up there.
Yeah.
But you know what? I spoke, and now I'm still practicing. I'm still learning how to be a public speaker.
Yeah.
I'm still growing. I'm not, I still have much to learn and grow. So
yeah. No, it's crazy to think that you were put in a position to like publicly speak to thousands of people, just to be in a position today with the opportunity to preach to masses of people, and it's all God's timing. And sometimes you may not be in the space of the Christian church, but yet somehow, some way, you're refining skills that can be used, tied with the gift of preaching the gospel, and go out and change the world. And it's a beautiful thing to kind of reflect back on that when you think about the times that you did that, maybe that 3-minute speech in English class, or you were able to overcome and speak about Jesus at your college. or you're able to go out and literally take the stand to say, God, I don't know what you're going to do, but I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to step into this role of leadership and see where it goes from there. And so for you, youthhood, so you started in high school, you were probably about 14, 15 maybe when you first started going to youth?
Going to youth ministry? Yeah, but when I really was more consistent, committed, I was about 17.
About 17?
Yeah.
And then
I was a junior. I was in the middle of my junior year, or the end of my junior year, I believe. My senior year, I believe that's when I really, I was actually more consistent.
Okay.
Because I think that was one of my hardest years.
Yeah. Isn't it always the hardest year at that time?
No, it's interesting because, well, for many reasons, but as a Christian, as a believer, you come down to, your senior year in high school, and you're almost like, you have this idea of like, oh my God, I finally made it, freedom. You want to scream freedom, right? And
no more.
You're almost an adult, and you think,
the hard part is already done.
Right. You think it's like,
that's a lie.
From here
young
on out,
people.
you're just free to be and do anything. So I had that challenge. It was that was a struggle. Excuse me. For me, I was beginning this journey with God as a Christian, as a believer, and I had, I wanted to live a different life, but at the same time, I was being dragged into all these other things with friends, the parties, all the other distractions that lead you to nowhere.
Distractions.
Right. And so that was the biggest struggle for me. Wanting and trying to live differently, choosing to live differently, but still being attracted to all the other things that were happening.
I would say like more trying to fit in while at the same time trying to separate yourself. You have that battle going on. It's like you want to live a different life with Christ, but at the same time you want to be the quote unquote the normal kid and the normal teenager, which is go out, have a good time, do athletics, do clubs. Unfortunately, go out and party, go to dances, do all that stuff. The stereotypical American teenager experience. That's what I like to call it.
Yeah, which is funny because a lot of that stuff just fell through for me. I remember my senior year, I fractured I was in, I did wrestling in high school.
Wrestling. That is not wrestling.
It's a sport, guys. It's a legit sport. It's actually one of the toughest sports in high school, if you didn't know. It's ranked, I think, I forgot, but it's one of the top
I don't disagree.
Hardest sports in high school. I believe, I read it somewhere. It's wrestling, water polo, and what was the third one? Swim or...
Nah, I would agree with water polo. Third, I don't know.
I forgot, but I read an article a while back.
I would hate to do band.
I was in band.
Yeah.
I was in marching band.
If they consider that a sport, I would hate to do band. Like, I did 2 days in football, but whatever they did during the summer, I would dislike that, honestly.
Yeah. So my senior year, I fractured my nose, and I couldn't do wrestling anymore. So anyway, that was another thing that kind of fell through my senior year, and just things were kind of happening throughout that year. But yeah, I felt like I was changing a different course. I was changing courses in my life, and so.
Okay. No, I got you, man. So let's dive into the youth ministry experience. So we want to discuss this topic because I think youth ministry can get crazy at times, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of crazy stories that we deal with. I think we have crazy stories when we're younger, but I think there's also crazy stories that can happen in youth ministry as well. So for you, are there any stories off the top of your head where you can remember, you'd be like, wow, I can't believe this happened at youth ministry? Is there any like one or maybe two stories that you can think of off the top of your head, whether if you were a youth or as a leader?
Man, so many events, so many activities that happen. As far as like youth, As far as youth stories, I would say a lot of the fun and kind of sometimes you want to do fun things, fun activities, and also sometimes those activities can become a little dangerous.
Oh yeah.
But and so as youth leaders, you kind of have to be careful with being having fun with the activities, but not getting too crazy where things can get dangerous. But no, I think from what one story about summer camp when I was I was a youth.
Yeah.
So I was a student in youth ministry, and I was part of like the student leadership team, and so we go to this summer camp, and after the service, we walk out of the service. We're going towards our cabins. All of a sudden, we get these water balloons thrown at us out of nowhere, and it was dark, and so everybody got scared. Everybody got kind of, and it just got crazy, I was like 17 or 18, I can't remember, but I remember we had these airsoft guns that we took to camp that year.
You guys took airsoft guns to camp?
We took airsoft guns to camp.
Oh my gosh.
So we were like, we spotted the guys that threw the water balloons at us. They were dressed all in like one piece. What is it called? Like one of those black one piece,
almost
suits.
like a ninja.
Kind of, I don't know.
Kinda like
That's what they used to call them, the ninjas.
Yeah.
They're known to pull pranks on the students. We didn't know that. We didn't know that at the time. So, anyways, me and a couple of my friends, we run up to our cabins. It's hilarious. Disclosure, don't do this.
Do not do this. We do not recommend doing this at all.
We
do not recommend doing this at all.
Okay, so anyways, we go up to our cabin, and we get our airsoft guns. We're like, we didn't know who this guy was. We thought it was just some intruder, and we were about to go find him. And 17-year-old kids, we're just
ninjas.
Yeah.
At the camp, we gotta take them out.
What's crazy too? We had walkie-talkies. We thought we were
like full-blown operation right now.
Exactly.
Operation Ninja. We're taking them out.
We're gonna take them out. We thought we were like G.I. Joe status. Some we became the I don't know, some military platoon there. We had walkie-talkies and everything. So anyways, we grab our airsoft guns and we go looking for this guy. We had our flashlights and everything. We eventually find one of the guys, and he was hiding. I forgot where, but he was hiding somewhere. And so we all go chasing after him, and then we had our airsoft guns, and I think somebody tackled him, and he got tackled, and I'm sure he got lit up with the airsoft guns. Turns out that guy with the dressed in the one piece all black suit throwing water balloons at us was one of the camp leaders.
Oh my god!
And and they were not happy at all. Yeah, it was pretty wild. So it was one of the camp leaders that we had just tackled. We tackled him to the ground, and yeah. So then all the leaders come out. They confiscate all of our airsoft guns, which is so funny because at this camp there were other churches that were also part of this camp. They gather all the boys. They gather all the boys at the camp. And they started having everybody, turn in anything that anybody brought, and other guys from other churches had brought fireworks because it was like around the 4th of July time. So some people pulled out firecrackers and lighters, and it was hilarious. It was hilarious. But anyways, yeah, and then we obviously got in trouble for that.
You think?
Yeah,
Man.
we got in big trouble for that. But yeah, we were, you know, that was our crazy teenage years. And then I remember as a youth leader, boy, oh boy, another story is, you know, one of our students decides to take, what do you call them? Like those poppers.
Yeah.
The ones that you throw to the ground and and they pop. And he took some to the camp. You're not supposed to take fireworks to camp. And this kid was one of those kids that didn't want to go. He didn't want to go to camp really, or he did, but was mostly like forced by his parents to go.
Yeah.
So he wasn't all that excited to go, but he went anyways.
And he brought poppers.
Brought poppers.
Oh my gosh.
The funny thing is that he befriended all the middle school kids there at the camp. He was a high schooler, and the middle school kids found out
he got himself a little army, man.
He did.
He's like, I'm building a platoon here, and we're gonna cost him.
And they just he befriended all the middle school kids. He had his little posse following him around.
Oh my gosh!
And before going to bed. They had this. They started singing the Halo theme song like right outside of the cabin.
What?
It was crazy. I was like, how did this kid's got some leadership.
He's called.
But it was. I ended up getting in trouble for him bringing poppers to camp, and you know, and so yeah, it's just. I remember it was that camp was a bit challenging, but at the end of the day, I think you know, God worked in his life, and he ended up you know, going back home with something you know, that God poured into his life, and so you know, got his poppers taken away, but yeah. A lot of different stories like that.
It was given a new life to Christ. That's beautiful, man.
Exactly. That's what it's about.
Shoot. I only have one. There's one story I remember off the top of my head. So my story was in 2021. This was after COVID. 4th of July week, for years on years, we always like to do the same exact thing. We like to have a service, a message talking about the importance of Independence Day, preaching on that, what that means in our lives today. Obviously, we live in a country where it's really founded by the understanding of God and who he is. Number one, free will. Number two, the morality and the concepts is based off of the laws that we establish. And so we spend a lot of time talking about that. But at the end of every service, we always like to grab some sparklers. We like to go out to the concrete, like to light them up. People will take pictures, this and that. So weird thing, TikTok, very popular thing, especially in 2020, 2021. I remember seeing a bunch of TikToks of kids that would light up the sparklers and then they would lay them out in the grass and they would just take a video of it, like happy 4th of July, whatever. So I'm like, oh, I had like a bad feeling in my stomach that one of my youth is going to do one of these things. And so we go out, we have the service, everything's going great. Do the sparklers, the kids are going crazy, like crazier than normal. They're running around everywhere. We're trying to contain them. But then all of a sudden, we hear from the corner, fire, fire, fire. I'm like, oh, shoot, fire. What the heck's going on?
What's that?
And there's literally a fire that's happening out in the field at our church. I'm like, oh my gosh.
In the middle of summer?
In the middle of the summer.
With all the dry grass.
Yes.
And,
so when people do the TikTok, it's like green grass, like solid green grass. No, the student throws it in dry grass, tries to take a video of it, and then it starts to spread like crazy.
Oh, snap.
So it starts to spread. It spreads like 6 to 8 feet. And luckily there was 2 people there, and we had a bunch of water already out there that were right there to able to take out the fire. But the funny thing is, though, is that when this fire had started, The kid books it the opposite direction as I'm trying to check it out. I'm like, whoa, what the heck is going on? This fire was about to spread. I was like, dude, we almost lit the church on fire that day.
Oh, wow.
And so at that point forward, we have not done any sparklers since 2021.
Hey.
I'm like, I can't take the risk anymore. Man, COVID did some weird things to some kids, man.
Man, hey, that's definitely, that's literally don't burn the church down.
Just don't burn.
You have one job, don't burn the church down.
Fire, Holy Spirit come, not from freaking sparklers, man. Like,
man.
That was definitely hands down number one story that I've had to deal with. I haven't really dealt with too many crazy stories, like as far as like funny, crazy stories. Obviously deal with all the emotional stuff, but that one I always remember because it was so serious. But then looking back on it, I'm like, that is so funny to think about, like that actually happened.
Yeah.
Oh man.
No, I mean, it's always like, youth stories come in all ways and forms, and a lot of it has to do with behavioral issues or just things that happen. Thankfully we've been blessed to be able to manage everything and
survive.
Right. But thankfully I've had a great experience with the youth group that I've served, and they're incredible youth. One other story that comes to mind, I have to share this really quick.
Oh man.
So this was actually the one time we went out to Bethel. So we went to Bethel Youth Conference.
Okay, I don't know about this one because was it the camp one? Was it the one?
It was actually the one. I think it was 2021. Yeah, it was right after COVID.
It was the tent one, the tent revival one.
The tent one, yeah. So
great conference, by the way.
Incredible. One of the best experiences. It was literally like, what was it, in the middle of March?
It was March. So they pushed it back from October 2020 into 2021. They said we can only do it outside.
It was a tent revival type format, and it was in the middle of March, and up there, like towards Reading, it's freezing cold. It is so cold. You can see the mountains like from a distance, and they're all covered in snow. The area where we were at, it was so cold. Like all of our students were just basically they were cold, and everybody was wrapped in their jackets and scarves and beanies. And so that was a great experience for this reason. We challenged our students, hey, it's so cold out here, but we're still going to come out here and receive from the Lord. Yeah. So, what you, and we I know you remind your students this as well, what you put in is what you're going to get out. Yeah. Meaning, if you're going to come here and you're going to, give it your all to God and seek out and have expectations for God to do something in your life, you're going to receive something. You're going to, you're going to enjoy this moment. Even though it's cold, man, our students had like some of the best memories, some of the best moments there at the Bethel Youth Conference because of that experience, because it was so out of the norm. It was so out of their comfort zone. Yeah. We weren't inside of, air-conditioned stadium.
No, we were not.
We weren't.
It was raining. There were the first night?
I think it was, yeah.
I think I remember correctly. The very first night, it was raining. It was not like sprinkled.
Excuse me. They were like... we were just out in the open air. Yeah. So no lights. The sound was terrible. But it was just loud.
It was awful. There was one service I was like, none of the speakers are working right now, right?
But you know what? God moved, and it was incredible because, again, a lot of times you get those students that maybe they weren't really wanting to go because maybe they're not really into church, or this is a new experience for them. But being in that environment really got them out of their shell, and they they were able to experience something new, have their own experience with God, right? XP. So, but it was more than that. It was more than just an experience, because it was something that impacted their life so much that to this day they talk about it and it's memorable to them. It was so cold, but you know what? They were all the way up in the front. They were jumping, they were praising, they were worshiping, and best of all, they had an encounter with God.
Yeah,
they had this encounter that was personal to them, that really impacted their lives and took it home. And so to me, that was one of the best conferences I went to. So let me tell this story. Sorry, I'm just kind of going here.
You want to rail? I have a feeling I think I know what the story's going to be.
Here's the thing. This is what happens when you get youth pastors, youth leaders on the podcast. They just ramble and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk.
I had Alvaro on here, man. We were going crazy strong. He's my boy.
Yeah.
And we're going to bring him back on at some point. So
he's awesome. Shout out to Alvaro.
Shout out to Limit Breakers.
So so after one of those services, it was after one of the night services, we went out to eat. We went out to get dinner, and the only thing really open was Denny's.
Yeah.
And we went out to Denny's, and we basically packed that place out. They were like, they almost didn't want to take us in, but they said, okay, you know what? We have some room. So we filled up. It was like 20 of us in just a long table. And, shout out to Denny's for, allowing us to have dinner that night. So we had dinner. We had a great time. And so after Denny's, we're about to go back to our hotel, and some of the boys decide to go get snacks at the gas station that's right next to Denny's, and because they want to take snacks back to their rooms. And so they get snacks, and they get this, I've never seen this before, but it was like a coffee / Coca-Cola drink. It's like what
was that?
I have no idea. I don't even know if they still make those, but it was like a energy times 10, like extra caffeinated Coca-Cola / energy drink. Coffee. It was like coffee and Coca-Cola mix. I have no idea. I've never seen that before, but it had the Coca-Cola logo and it said coffee on there. It was like a crazy, energy drink. So what's so funny is I tell this guy, I noticed they grabbed their drinks, their energy drinks, and I go, hey guys, it's really late, and you guys need to get some sleep, because we still have to go to the conference tomorrow. And
it's always the longest. The second day is always the longest too.
Right? And so I was like, if you guys drink that, you're not gonna want to go to sleep. Like, it's too late. You guys just ate. You guys just need to take it easy. So they ignored me, obviously. Right? I have to be the party pooper, I guess. And they were like, oh yeah, whatever. So they buy their energy drinks. They chug the can outside of the store, and they challenge each other. It was like four boys. They challenge each other to race from the gas station to our van, which is it's like across the parking lot. It's a good distance. And and it's so funny because right after they chug it, they feel like all this energy and they want to race each other. So as soon as they take off, they start running and they start sprinting. And one of those boys stops in the middle of the race and just goes, oh, he just pukes. Oh, like he just stops in the middle of the race and just throws up. And that was it.
Oh my gosh!
And I was like, "You gotta be kidding!" His Denny's dinner
gone.
He's right there.
Did he go, Pastor Diego? I'm hungry.
No, I mean, they obviously had snacks. They could, they were taking home, or they were taking back to their room, and
shoot,
it was upsetting.
Yeah,
but it was funny at the same time.
That is hilarious. Honestly, I would have I probably would have laughed a little. I'm not gonna lie. In that moment, it's just like
It's like, what
kinda,
do you do?
You
told
warned
them. Yeah,
You warned them.
Hey,
I was like, hey,
don't
man.
drink those.
Hey, man. Like,
It's late.
if I
You
laugh,
just ate.
you're like, oh, don't laugh at me. I'm like, I told you not to.
But
So
then again,
Yeah.
maybe at his age I would have done the same thing. So.
yeah.
But you know what? Yeah.
Oh man.
He was fine. And
Yeah. I imagine.
he was fine, but
That's it.
it was just kind of one of those moments like, hey, well, there you go.
Oh my god. Oh,
yeah.
dude. Well, we talked for a while. I didn't think about it, but no, I just want to conclude with this, man. If as a youth pastor, to anybody out there that's watching this or even inspiring to get in ministry in any kind of way, what is probably like one thing you can tell somebody or one piece of advice you can give to somebody that's going to step into youth ministry?
Yeah, definitely. Most of all, know your why.
Oh yeah.
Know your why. Why do you do what you do? Why do you do it? Know your why. I think that's very important in ministry overall, knowing your why. Because when you know your reason to do something, when the struggles come, when the challenges, you're reminded of why you're doing what you're doing, and you're encouraged to keep pushing forward, to keep moving, to overcome, to stay faithful, to seek God. It's very, very easy to get discouraged, to get tired, to get, beat down, to, trust me, it's constant.
Yeah.
that happens. But we gotta remind ourselves why we do it. Know why you're doing it. If you can't answer why you're doing it, maybe it's not the right time to do it. And I think it just goes for everything. Know your why. And I don't say this lightly, because it's something that I have to remind myself.
Yeah.
Just in general, I have to remind myself my why. Mm-hmm. And it's something I'm still learning in different areas of my life, knowing my why. So that's one of the things I would say to encourage. And the second thing is, listen to God.
Yeah.
Stay faithful to His word. Listen. You'll listen to God's voice by staying faithful to His word, and then just stepping into that season, knowing that God is with you, taking that step of faith.
That's good, man. That's good. Well, I appreciate you being on this episode. Obviously,
Absolutely.
We're going to bring you back on at some point.
Yeah.
We added a third microphone, so the more the merrier. But everybody, if you enjoyed this, make sure, obviously, like, subscribe, share the content. We're getting very, very close to our first giveaway. This is a community. This is a community of ordinary people. You have 2 full-time workers, people that are doing youth ministry, and that's what we're about. We want to bring in the everyday person to talk about their lives, crazy stories, and then more importantly, to continue to build you in your walk with Christ, even from a person that may be just like you. And so just continue to be encouraged, continue to be inspired, and there's going to be more than enough content that's going to continue to be released weekly. So make sure that you hit the notification bell and make sure that you can stay in touch with us. But this is going to conclude today's episode.
All right.
We love you. God bless you. And I hope that this was an experience for you. Peace.